welcome to DC Talks. This is Ben Markham, and it's a privilege to bring to you what is now our third episode during the COVID-19 crisis. And I have some special guests who are joining us here this week on the show. And so I want to bring them up right now. Would you guys welcome the Cousins family? We have Kyle, and we've got Kirk, and we've got Don. And guys, thanks for being on the show.
Great to be on. Thanks for having us.
You bet. You bet. All right. So we're going to jump right in with the question I think everyone asks someone that they run into during this, and that is, what have you been doing? Like, what are you doing to kill time right now with everything kind of slowed down to a halt?
We've been getting outside a lot. I think the first week or so of quarantine, there was like this mindset that we had to stay in the house, literally. And so it took me a few days to realize, like, oh, we can actually still go outside. We can get fresh air. So I think with work being pretty busy, which is obviously a blessing, my wife and I are trying to find opportunities throughout the day to kind of stretch our legs. So we'll go outside, go to the park. Kirk and I will throw the football or play a little tennis or something, but whatever we can do to stay active and get some fresh air.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's important right now. Kirk, how about you?
Yeah, I've been exercising in our driveway here in Orlando, so I have great weather and get a lot done. Surprisingly, I use technology to connect with my trainer in another state, and we've got a little bit of equipment we keep in the garage, dumbbells, use some body weight exercises, got a jump rope, and we get a lot done. So between the workouts and keeping my two boys from killing themselves, we stay pretty busy.
And I'm just learning how to use technology, Ben. This has been a technically challenging time for me to figure out all the different ways to communicate using technology. And then, helping Kirk out with his workout stuff, because, of course, I have massive amounts of workout equipment in our garage. No.
No, that's great. Kirk, you should remind us now, your boys, Cooper and Turner, how old are they now?
Cooper's 2.5 and Turner is a year old. They're doing great. They're healthy. They're growing fast. We have a lot of fun with them, but it's a stage right now where they're both in diapers. They're only 17 months apart, and it's not 5 kids, but it is plenty for me and Julie to stay busy. So that pretty much commands our attention. When they're awake, we've got eyes and ears on them.
Yeah, 2 kids in diapers. I'm sure there's actually quite a few moms and dads who are watching right now that can relate with the 2 kids in diaper phase. And it's really intense. Now, it's something else. Now, Cooper made it into the message this weekend, as Don was telling a story about Beanie Babies and him carrying them and all that. And I thought it was funny. My wife and family and I laughed when he shared that Cooper has a new little phrase that he says over and over again, or says often anyways, and that's, "I'm good." So I'm curious, who did he pick that up from?
Yeah, he picked that up from me. That's a phrase of mine. Julie says, "Hey, you want breakfast? I'm good." And it just goes to show how he's a sponge and he learns whatever you say. And certainly that was one that he picked up and knows how to put it to use.
Yeah, there's a lot of accountability with toddlers around who are just learning language. They sound just like us after a while. So I'm kind of curious, Don, I want to pose this question to you. With Kirk and Kyle, were there any phrases that they tended to repeat when they were young, things that they said that you still remember now, like Cooper saying, "I'm good"?
Well, things that are usable on this video, yes, one comes to mind. Whenever Marianne or I would give a directive to Kirk that he didn't like, he would respond by saying, "Come to my birthday party." We were held hostage. And on the other hand, if we would then say something that he liked to hear, he would put a big smile on his face and say, "You come to my birthday party, Mom." So that was a standard thing. I don't know, probably 2.5 till about 4.5. We heard that on a regular basis, whether we were giving him something good or bad. That's the way he would respond.
That's fantastic. I'm guessing, Kyle, you probably got disinvited a few times too.
I don't remember. I remember always being there, but it may have fluctuated depending on the day, whether I got the invite or not.
I also added, "You come to my birthday party anytime," as if it was happening every couple weeks. But I clearly viewed the birthday party as the one asset that I had control over. And I was going to use that control the best I could.
Yeah, we heard that a lot.
That's awesome, guys. That's fantastic. All right. Well, I want to give our people a chance to get to know a little bit more about the Cousins family. And so we're going to play a little game called Which Cousins? And so I'm going to read off a statement that simply begins with which cousins or has that phrase somewhere in the question. And then you're going to hold up a card with your answer. And it's going to look something like this. I know you guys have all prepared your cards. I got Don, Kyle, and Kirk here. All right. So you're going to hold those up to the answer that you think is most accurate. You're allowed to answer yourself, but you are only allowed to give one answer. All right. You can't hold up two cards. All right. So
and let's make it clear, we don't know what's coming here.
You have no idea.
Yeah,
you have no idea what the questions are going to be. Only I know those questions, and I'm very excited to ask them. All right. Let's start off with this one. I think it's kind of easy. Which Cousins is the most competitive?
Ooh, man.
Wow. All right. That surprises me a little bit. I expected, well, I don't know. That's got to be a tough one. All right.
I'm going to say that second place is Kyle.
I can
Dad,
see.
do you disagree?
It might surprise you.
Yeah.
I think he hates to lose the charity football games we do more than I do.
That would be true.
Maybe that's because that's all I got, bro.
That's awesome. It is something else, though, when the professional athlete's the least competitive man in the family.
I might be third. That's all I'm trying to say.
It's a pretty tight race there at the top.
Yeah, I figured that might be a tough one for you guys. All right, let's start with this one. In the morning, which Cousins takes the longest in the bathroom to get ready for the day? You guys know, Kyle, that's interesting because in this video right now, you look the most unkept.
Easier. Like my quarantine beard?
Yeah, that's fantastic. All right.
I don't have much time on my hair.
No, you don't. I guarantee Don was not going to be picked on that one. All right.
We shared a bedroom for years, and Kyle was a long shower guy, and he just took his time.
Yeah.
He sings in the shower.
Yep.
That's good. All right. That question might come up later. We'll see. Let's jump around here. I got a few more rapid fire. Let's say which Cousins says Chicago with an accent?
I mean, I feel like we all say it right.
All right. Well, Don, would you say Chicago for us?
Chicago.
Yeah. I don't say Chicago like that because I'm not from there. But Kyle and Kirk, did you pick up that little bit of something on the C?
It's always Chicago.
I can hear it. Yeah.
It's subtle, and I used to say it that way. And after living in West Michigan for about a decade, it left me. And then I had a Michigan accent, and then I lost that when I moved to Washington, D.C. So I'm always changing.
Yeah. I didn't realize people from Michigan had an accent until I moved to Florida, and I got teased for it.
Exactly. I heard the governor speak on the news the other day from Michigan, and it was such a nasally tone of an accent. I realized that used to be me.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I had to learn how to say the word challenge differently because I would say challenge.
Yeah, calendar.
Check the calendar before you go to Tampa to challenge.
My wife gives me a hard time on calendar.
Calendar, yeah, we've all got it. That's good. All right, let's keep going on here. All right, let me see here. Which Cousins is most likely to eat ice cream when they're emotional?
Oh, that's a tough one. But yeah, the Don's going to be a close second. The Don will just eat it anytime.
I can get ice cream emotional, non-emotional, doesn't matter.
That's why I put him number one.
You're an anytime ice cream guy, whereas Kyle is more of a, emotionally he's going to eat it.
Sure, right. Comfort food.
Yeah, same here. Total comfort food. All right, let's do this. You're walking by a mirror. Which Cousins is most likely to stop and check themselves out?
That's a tough one.
One answer.
I'm going to say Kirk, not because he's vain, but because he's more methodical about it than I would be. I think I already look good, In the mirror. Kirk's going to be checking down the list. So it's not vanity. It's more like, okay, are we good?
Okay. So what I hear you saying is it's not vanity so much as insecurity.
It's sure, meticulous is what I would say.
Meticulous. All right. Fantastic. All right. Let me see. Which cousins is most likely to burst into song while driving their car?
Too easy.
Too easy. Too easy. Kyle, if you were to burst into song, though, which song are you singing?
So right now, the song on my mind, one of my favorites of all time, is from The Hunchback of Notre Dame, when Quasimodo sings "Out There." And then my wife had to remind me, well, you can actually go out there. You can go outside. You don't have to sing about it from inside. You can go outside. But it's "Out There" is it's a Disney classic.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've got Disney songs kind of on blast all the time right now. It's just a constant. All right, let's stick with the car theme. Which cousins is most likely to get pulled over for speeding? Oh, okay. We've got some dissent on this one. We have a little bit of dissent. Kirk, why'd you pick your dad?
I rode with him the other day.
It's probably true. It's probably true.
It's going to be.
I have to confess. Yeah, probably true.
The Chicago in him is aggressive, and it's hard to grow up in, the near suburbs of Chicago and not be an aggressive driver. I learned to drive in West Michigan where there's no traffic and
true.
Nobody's in a hurry. So I will speed certainly, but I guess there's a difference between being a lead foot and being aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably have to change my answer because you got to give credit where credit's due.
Yeah, and I am competitive.
Learned it from somewhere.
Yes, and you're the most competitive. So I think that does feed with speeding. So let me do a little follow-up question on the speeding. Which cousins is most likely, like when they get pulled over, to talk their way out of the ticket?
Oh, man.
I really hope you all pick yourself. Yes.
That was less a personality question than a pride question.
You're probably right, and that's fantastic. Well, speaking of pride, I think this one will tap into that. Which cousins is most likely to invest in Beanie Babies in hopes of turning a profit?
Yeah, because he did, literally.
Because he did. Yeah, that was a softball. I just wanted to bring it up again, Don, because you did. And I do appreciate that you did it. Well, we weren't necessarily keeping score here, but I think you all win, and we all learned a little bit more about you guys and about the way you view each other. Very competitive family, a lot of lead foots, and some singers. Well, guys, let's move on to a little bit of conversation about where we find ourselves right now. One of the things that Don has been encouraging us very regularly in our weekend services to do is to hold on to the truth of the Word of God. And then two questions that we ask ourselves all the time at Discovery Church is, what is God saying to you? And what are you doing about it? And so I wanted to ask Kirk and Kyle, and you can go in either order that you want. I wanted to ask you guys first, is there something that you're learning about yourself or that's being revealed to you about God during this COVID-19 crisis?
Yeah, I can go first. I think for me, just the consistency of his character. I've been studying through the book of Acts, kind of coincidentally with you guys. My wife and I attend a different church here in town. We live up in Winter Park. But it's a book I've never really studied in depth. So I'm reading a commentary alongside it and just enjoying each morning, taking advantage of the quiet time to read through it. So I think on a broad level, what God's been reminding me of is just how active his Spirit is, how really his power is available to us every day to do the unexplainable, the impossible. And in a time like this, where I think the unexplainable, the impossible, for us and for a lot of the ministry leaders I engage with, is needed and is necessary. So I've been so encouraged just reading chapter after chapter where God does amazing things. And then specifically, was reading this morning, I'm kind of looping back through it, Acts chapter 5, when the apostles are released from prison, and it says that they were rejoicing because they were considered worthy to suffer.
Wow.
And they went home and were preaching and teaching Jesus as the Christ. And I've been so encouraged by that, just that God is still the same. Even though we're in quarantine, he's still good. He's still trustworthy. He's still active.
Yeah.
And that's been so comforting to me. I think a little convicting. And then my mantra of sorts has been, 9 months, a year from now, can I look back and rejoice because I suffered well, if you will, and I stayed engaged, and I served, and I sought to love people, and want to rejoice that we'd be considered worthy to go through this and honor God with the way that we go about it.
Kyle, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And it's very reflective. And I think something we all need to hear right now, is looking back, what will we see happened in ourselves and through us during the season so that it's not wasted. Kirk, how about you?
There's no doubt parts of our life that have been cramped, and some people more than others as a result of COVID-19. But I think it's been fun to see and take notice of God's provision in advance of COVID-19 such that things aren't worse. I think of specifically with Discovery Church, the fact that the timing of moving to the Sand Lake campus happened just before this COVID-19 hit, which has then allowed the reach of Discovery Church's message through technology to be much stronger as a result of the technology that is present at the Sand Lake campus as opposed to at the campus on Orange Avenue. And that literally that change happened only about a month prior to the virus hitting. And so while we can point to a long list of ways that this has been an inconvenience or even worse, really affected our lives in a negative way, I think we can make just as long of a list of all the provisions that God has allowed for such that it isn't worse and that we should be giving him thanks for. And I think it's a healthy practice to think about all the ways he's provided through this challenging time.
Good.
No, that's so true. I think that's so true, Kirk, and thank you for that. Is there Kyle kind of got into Acts chapter 5, a verse that's been meaningful to him. I'm curious for you, is in addition to what you're seeing there, is there a verse that's really been meaningful to you during this time?
Yeah, and the key right now is you actually have to live out the verse. You aren't just saying it and reading it and going on with your day. You're literally having to make the word of God active in your life in this difficult time, and that's the beauty of adversity. But I keep going back to my life verse. It's a trusty verse because it applies so much. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Don't lean on your understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your steps. And when you're in the moment right now, our steps haven't been fully directed yet because we're not on the other side of this virus, but we have to believe while we're in it that he's going to direct our steps and just trust him and not lean on our understanding, which would suggest that God doesn't know what he's doing, but to trust him and acknowledge him, and let's let him direct the steps from here on out.
No, I think that's a good word, and I appreciate you both sharing that. Having those passages of scripture, being in the Word, Kyle, like you are in Acts chapter 5, when you're daily in the Word, he's going to bring out verses that maybe haven't been life verses for you, but that all of a sudden take on a new meaning. That's really powerful. Well, Don, I want to give you a chance to respond. You've had a chance to hear from both your sons and where they're at with it. Anything striking you about what they're saying?
Well, I was reminded early this morning due to the homegoing of a woman who's the mother of a woman on our staff. And I think, Ben, you know who I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And so I was reminded of my own mother's passing. And with my grandchildren here, I'm seeing now the other end of life. And so I was thinking about Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 this morning because that's been a generational family verse starting with my mother. And Kirk just mentioned Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. As the church knows, that's one of my life verses. It's one of Kyle's life verses. It's been our family life verse. It goes back to my mother. And now I find myself looking and praying for my two grandsons that it will become their life verse. And, what wonderful verses to build a family generationally upon. that we as a family now into a fourth generation, hopefully, prayerfully, will live by trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your steps. And so whether you're in good times or whether you're in tough times, those are verses to build your life upon. And one of the great, I think, reminders this season has been for me, has been the great reminder that I am so glad that my life and my kids' lives, and by the way, the best of the three kids is not here right now because my daughter's not online with us. Maybe we'll give her own episode in the future. But the fact that all three of them are committed to walking with Jesus, what a great benefit and blessing that is in a time of great uncertainty. I praise God for that.
It's a gift, Don. It really is to see that heritage in your family. You can see it continue to play out. Well, guys, I want to thank all of you for being a part of this. We've kind of come to the end of our time here with our episode of DC Talks, and thank you for believing in the work of Discovery Church and what God's doing there. It was awesome, Kirk and Kyle, to see both of you at our grand opening. And in our first weekend services, and hope to see you around in the future as well. But today, I just want to say thanks for being on this show. It's been a lot of fun, and I really appreciate what both of you had to share. Don, you as well. Thanks for wrapping it up nicely for us there. So before we go, something I know about Kirk and Kyle is I know that they are both fans of the show The Office. So one last question. I did not prepare them for this question, all right? If you had to assign the members of your family here, just you three, to being a character on that show, which character would you guys be? Kyle, you go first.
I mean, you'd want to say Jim, but I think just the singing and dancing, I'm going to fall into the Andy archetype.
Yeah.
Kyle, what about a deep cut for Dad? Because Michael Scott as the leader that doesn't work. So maybe like a Bob Vance of Vance Refrigeration.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe somebody who's a little more got their head on straight.
Yeah. I was thinking the nighttime security guard.
Hank?
Yeah. That guy's, I mean, he's right to business. Doesn't take any crap from anybody.
I think Bob Vance, little Hank. I think maybe you could throw in a little Charles Minor.
Charles Minor is it.
Yeah. You guys are getting much deeper in this than I expected. Well, I think we can all agree he's not Toby and he's not Mike. But I can easily see Kirk and Kyle, both of you guys are Jim to me. I can just see it. So.
I've got a little Oscar in me.
That's
I've got a little Angela in me. So, you can, but anybody could pull from different people.
Sure.
You probably could anywhere. All right. Well, I consider myself the temp. And I'll end it with that. Guys, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for joining us. Have yourself an awesome week and stay safe and healthy.
Thanks, Ben.
See you guys.
All right. Bye-bye.